Hello everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. I'm just going to check in on my phone, make sure I'm doing this right. I want to welcome everyone. I'm Suze. My name is Suzanne Paulinski. I'm the founder of the Rockstar Advocate, and I'll go more into what I do in a moment. But what I don't do is tech. So I'm not that great at technology, so I just want to check on my phone that this is coming through okay to you guys. Let's see where the posts are. Here we go. And it looks like yes, no, maybe. Okay. You guys can let me know in the captions if, oh, there I am. All right. So I want to thank the Savvy Musician Show, Leah and her team, for having me. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Because there's a lot going on right now. And I want to applaud you guys for taking time to show up and be here with us over these last couple of days and days coming up. Thanks, Chandra. So that you can learn some stuff, develop your craft, and get through these really crazy times. So I wanted to talk about, you guys have learned from some amazing experts over the last few days and last week, including Leah and her amazing team. And all of these skill sets are so important. I caught Kristen's live about the websites. I was taking notes for myself. I was like, wow, this is really good information. I should remind myself to update my own site. And that stuff is all well and good. But when we make a plan, or when we set out on our weekly kind of map of what we're going to do, it's hard enough to stick to it, let alone when there's a pandemic going on worldwide, when maybe you've got kids that are now being homeschooled for the first time, or maybe you've got a day job where now you've got to learn how to do it remotely, and maybe you've never worked from home before. So there's all this new stuff, not even to mention the emotional strain and anxiety, and maybe you've got loved ones that you're worrying about at this time. There's just so much going on. So when things are good and there's not a global pandemic and our plans can still go haywire, how do we deal now with all of this when our plans have definitely been thrown out the window? So if you guys are watching with me live, let me know if your plans have gone into the crapper so far. I know mine have. I know that there was no way that we could say, well, I saw this coming, good thing I planned for it, right? I don't think any of us could have really fully grasped what our lives were going to be like a few weeks ago. So I know that brings a lot of anxiety. I know that brings a lot of overwhelm. And so that's why I'm here. I'm here in the hopes of helping you decrease that overwhelm and be able to wrap your brain around how to come up with a new plan and how to acknowledge and be okay with the fact that your current plan or your last plan didn't pan out. And that's okay. You know, and that is a loss. That's a loss that we have to acknowledge, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. But for those of you who don't know who the heck I am or why I'm talking to you today, like I said, my name is Suze. I'm the founder of the Rockstar Advocate, and I'm a mindset coach for music professionals, musicpreneurs. I help them with goal setting. I help them with figuring out their next steps, and I help them with, as I said, decreasing overwhelm and avoiding burnout. One of the reasons I decided to become a mindset coach, I do have 15 years plus experience in the music industry, and I do have my master's in psychology, and so I decided to combine those two. And the reason why I wanted to become a mindset coach is because as I was building my third business, this is my third business, and I went into it much more prepared than my last two businesses, because my last two businesses I did not understand entrepreneurship. Had no idea what it was about. I just knew the music industry. That's all that I knew. That's what I was good at. And I didn't understand that entrepreneurship was a whole different thing. And once I understood entrepreneurship, I came to understand that mindset is everything. Okay? And mindset is it has the power to completely transform or completely take down what you can achieve, right? It's all about the mindset. And so because I'm not super techie at all, my mindset for this live was that I just have a few notes that I will copy and paste into the comments when I think something is important enough for you to really take away from this. And we're gonna talk face to face, because I don't toggle back and forth with with slides on Facebook. I'm not that talented. But I wanted to share with you this quote from Gandhi, that your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. Now, the reason I'm sharing that with you all is because it's so crucial, especially at times like these, to check your mindset, to make sure that no matter what is happening around you, you're taking deep breaths, you're calming yourself down, you're doing your best to look at everything through a calm lens and seeing the bigger picture. Now, Leah, a couple days ago, was talking about how millionaires and how successful entrepreneurs see the long term, right? See the bigger picture. And we're definitely going to get into that in this lesson. But I wanted to point that out, that it all begins with mindset. And that's why I chose to become a mindset coach, because I found for myself what made this business successful and why the others didn't do well. It was my mindset and how I approached things. I got out of that perfectionist mindset. I got out of that fraud talk and imposter mindset. And I got out of that money scarcity mindset. And that stuff takes a lot of work. But once I was able to shift those mindsets, it was like there was no stopping me. Oh, my pleasure, Matthew. So some of the things I want to go over regarding mindset first, before we get into your plans, is that part of being an entrepreneur is learning to roll with the punches. You've got to keep adapting, right? Especially in times like these, when all of a sudden you used to maybe go to an office and now you're working from home. Or maybe you were used to your kids being at school and now they're home with you all the time. Or you were used to being very active and being outside and being with people and hugging people and being with your friends, and now we're isolating and social distancing, right? So we've got to learn how to adapt. And part of building a sustainable career in music is adapting to the times, right? I can think of just the last 20 years, this music industry just never stops changing. And as we grow, it changes faster and faster, with changes in technology and changes in human behavior, right? So it doesn't mean that you give up on your goals. It simply means you find new ways. You use that creativity that you were born with as an incredible musician and creative. You use that to adapt to ways of reaching your goals. It doesn't mean that your goals have to go out the window. It doesn't mean you have to give up on your dreams of whatever you are trying to work towards. It just means you adapt. So right now, in these times, and forever moving forward, a large part of adapting to building a sustainable career in music is knowing and accepting and embracing how to be an online musicpreneur. How to engage with your fans when you may not be able to see them and touch them and hug them and high five them out on tour. How to keep your mindset, right, really positive and calm and invigorated and inspired, so that you can continue to create at home. How to use technology to do things that maybe you can't at this moment do outside or do with a larger team of people. So whether, whenever this pandemic moves on and the fog lifts and we can all hug each other again, and you can go back out on tour if that's what you love to do, and you can play those live shows or you can be at those networking events, yes, that day will come soon enough. But even when those days do come, you're going to want to use these skill sets to expand your income streams, to expand your audience. There will always be people on the other side of the world that you won't be able to meet in person, whether there's a pandemic going on or not. So having the mindset and accepting the fact that things are changing, and that if you weren't normally an online musicpreneur, now's the time to start, right? That's part of being an adaptable entrepreneur, and that's what makes entrepreneurs successful. Entrepreneurs who are successful it doesn't mean that they've always been succeeding or that they always do things right or that they have some ability to foresee the future that we don't. It just means that when they fall down, they adapt and figure out how to get back up better and stronger than before. Oh, thanks, Sam. I appreciate that. Hey, Mark, thanks so much for tuning in. So, I wanted to go over, now that I've kind of gotten off my soapbox about the importance of mindset. One of the things that I do as a mindset coach is that I'm a planner. I'm like the planning queen. I teach my clients how to plan. I created a weekly planner, the Rockstar Life Planner, that I use with all of my clients. I even ran an event in December called Planchella, which was all about planning and how to win in 2020, right? Like that's what I do. My life revolves around planning. So believe me when I say I get it when your plan goes into the crapper and that panic sets in, or that fraud talk comes back and you think, I'm such an idiot. How did I not see this? Or why didn't I have a plan for this? Or how come my plan wasn't good enough to sustain this, right? We always attack ourselves. We feel like failures, or we get angry, or we feel like, oh, I wasted all that time planning and what good was it? Because blah, look at life now. No plan is going to help me, right? We get into this tizzy of doom and gloom when plans don't work out. And so I hear from clients a lot, and this was before the pandemic, I just always heard from clients, well, why am I going to bother planning? Because I'm still learning about the music industry. I'm still growing my audience. I'm still learning about who they are. And so what if I make a plan and then what's the point? It's going to go out the window. I'm going to have to change it. Well, here's the thing. This is why we plan, and I'm going to copy it into the comments because it's super important to keep in mind. We plan so that we can figure out step one. That's why we plan. We don't plan so that we predict the whole future and everything's just taken care of and it's all wonderful and good and then we never have to worry because we have a plan. That's not why we plan. We plan so we can figure out step one and take action. You want to think of a long-term goal or think of a goal that you want to work towards, break it down, and then break it down even more till you get what you can take action on right now, and then you take action. And then you take that step and you assess the situation. And that data that comes in from taking action will enable you and educate you to take the next step and maybe make some tweaks to that plan as you take the next step, and so on and so forth. You can't tweak a plan without data, and you don't have any data unless you take action. So that's the importance of planning. I know at times like these, it can feel that it's, everything's changing minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day. So why bother planning? Because I could be wrong, right? So I always say to people, then plan in pencil. If that's what makes you feel better, plan in pencil. Because yes, you will have to change things. Pandemic or no pandemic, you will have to change things along the way. But you gotta know where to start. And you want to make the best educated decision based on the data that you have now. And that's where plans come in. I was saying I'm researching the music industry, a lot of different fields now. I'm working on being an entrepreneur and musicpreneur now more than before. That's great. Music retail, music production, recording. Yeah, exactly. It's a good time to get back. Exactly, Bobby. This is the perfect time to get back to self-development, business development, and learning some skills and taking action while you're learning those skills, getting messy, making mistakes, because if you try to avoid the mistakes, you'll never take enough action, right? So it's really important that when you plan, you have the right mindset when you go into planning, okay? Because these are the three main tips, three main mindset kind of observations that you want to have when you go into planning, and I'm going to post them in the comments here. Number one, the plan does not have to be finished for you to get started, right? You don't have to have all the answers. As Bobby was saying, he's looking into a couple things. He's learning new things. That doesn't mean it has to keep him from taking action. You don't have to have all of the answers. Number two, the plan will change. It doesn't matter how great of a plan it is. You can learn something new. You might start collaborating with somebody different. You might just get inspired and want to change it, even if it's going well. You might just be moved to change it. So understand that the plan will change. The other thing, and this was the biggest shift and most profitable, I guess, shift for me when it happened, was that it's going to be messy, but it will be fine. Okay, that was my thing. I don't really like mess. I'm very type A. I like my plans. I like my structure. And when I was wrong about something, or when I had to change my plan, it would put me in such a tizzy, and I get so anxious and so overwhelmed that I didn't want to take the next step, because I was like, well, I was wrong before. What if I'm wrong now? And then people will think I'm stupid, and I'll be so embarrassed. Like, here's a secret. Nobody fully knows what they're doing. Like, that's just the truth. Nobody has it all figured out. Nobody has all of the answers. We're all doing the best we can. Just because you don't see somebody's mess or mistakes doesn't mean they're not making them. So be okay with it. And as soon as I could tell you right now, it's January of 2018. As soon as I finally started accepting my mess, my business was like off and running. I quadrupled my income in 2018 and continued to grow it because I was okay with the mess. People don't look for perfection. People look for authenticity, and people look for value. You can still give value and be messy. Like, that's okay. Pandemic or not, we can figure this out. Yes, thank you, Brittany. That's so kind of you. Sam says, I feel like planning is so important because it lets you prepare for possible outcomes and changes. Yes, and Sam, I'm going to actually touch upon that in a bit more detail in a second. I'm glad you brought that up. Working in an architectural field and working as a project coordinator, planning started from design. Yeah, exactly. So you get it. Changing my mindset a couple years ago, looking at the music industry as a whole rather than only looking at my performance career, changed the game. Yes, Brittany, as Leah had said a couple days ago, that long game, right? The bigger picture. Absolutely. 100%, Brittany. Oh, thanks, Peter. Thanks for tuning in. So this is what happens. As I said, and Brittany, I'm so glad you brought that up about, looking at the whole, right? Looking at the bigger picture, because that was my next point that I'm going into. That it's imperative to see the long game and think of the bigger picture, especially at times like these, especially when your plan just falls out from underneath you and you feel like there's no safety net there, right? We've got to think of it in the bigger picture. You're more than one single. You're more than one client, one show, one tour, a few tricky months, or even a bad year. You're more than all of that. So I know plenty of musicians whose tours had to get canceled, other entrepreneurs who lost clients, people that had to, put off launching certain things because they had to regroup, people who launched singles and it kind of just went into the abyss. Dare I bring up Mariah Carey's Glitter album that came out on 9/11, and it took 20 years almost for her to get a number one for Justice for Glitter. Does anybody remember that? I mean, this is Mariah Carey, and even she couldn't, predict or even have any sort of plan for the fact that one of her albums would be released on one of the most devastating years in our lifetime, one of the most devastating days in our lifetime, right? So things happen, but she's still here. You can survive, a bad album release or a canceled tour, or, having to just kind of regroup and rebrand yourself. I've rebranded like 3 times. You can survive all of those things. It's your mindset that is going to sustain you, and it's your ability to be honest with your audience and transparent with them and say, this is what I'm going through. I'm here for you guys, but this is also what I'm going through, and here's how I'm changing. Yeah, absolutely. So let's see, where was I in my notes? Because I kind of went off on a whole Mariah thing. But here's what I wanted to share with you about thinking in long-term situations. Here's the mistake a lot of us make when we plan. All right? Here's what I'm going to share with you. What happens, here's where we go wrong a lot. This is like basic human behavior, is we plan best case scenarios, right? We plan for the the best case scenario, we plan in 24-hour days. I always tell people, like, you don't have 24 hours. You're sleeping hopefully 8 of them. And if you're not sleeping 8 of them, you should at least try to be, and not doing work for at least 8 hours every day. That 8 hours is already taken out. Now we have 16 hours, right? But you've got a family possibly, or a pet to take care of, or personal errands, or self-care, or eating, or going to the bathroom, or anything that takes up taking care of you and those you're responsible for. That takes up time. When there wasn't a pandemic and maybe you had a day job that you had to drive through, you had travel time. That also took up time. So when you plan for a 24-hour day in this like perfect bubble where you tell yourself, I can control everything, and here's what I'm going to do at every 15-minute mark, and everything's going to go exactly how I want it to go. And like, that's not true. And then you've got 4 hours realistically to get it all done. And then by the end of the day, you feel like a piece of crap. You call yourself a moron. You say, why did I think I could, why couldn't I, I'm a failure, right? Because I didn't get all this stuff done. That's not what happened. You just didn't plan realistically. You planned in a perfect bubble and planned for the best case scenario, right? Another mistake we often make is when we have plans, as we're going through them, we're just focusing on worst case scenarios. So we plan for best case scenarios and we focus on worst case scenarios where, oh, I got to send out that newsletter to my group, but it's been a while since I emailed them. Oh my God, everybody's going to unsubscribe. Everyone's going to say, where have you been? Why are you emailing me now? You stink. Oh my goodness, maybe I shouldn't put the newsletter out, right? Like, I know plenty of people that do that. I've done that. And rather than just saying, hey, this could go really well, I might get some subscribers who say, hey, it's been so good to hear from you. I haven't heard from you in a while. Thanks for the update. I might get new subscribers once my newsletter is active again. You know, we don't focus on best case scenario. We focus on worst case. Here's what needs to happen in your mindset shift so that you can adapt better and sustain times of these. Worst case and focus on best case. Sam says, I've been wrong doing that before, hoping the best instead of preparing for the worst. Yeah, exactly, right? So when I make a plan, and I know Kristen was mentioning this with the website, right? Give yourself more time than you think. Understand that you're going to get interrupted. Understand that during this pandemic, don't say to yourself, hey, I work from home now. I'm stuck in my house. I'm furloughed, or my job let me go, or this is the perfect time to build my business. All right, here's my game plan. I'm going to work 8 straight hours every day, and this is what I'm going to do. Here's the problem with that. That sounds great, right? It's inspirational, feel good in the moment. But here's what happens. You wake up one day and you're listening to the news, or you get news from a family member that they're starting to not feel good. Then you start to panic, or you get anxious, or you just wake up feeling resentful because as much as you want to accept what's going on, this sucks. You had to cancel plans. You had to cancel the show. You didn't get to see your best friend for their birthday. Like, you will wake up with crappy days. And you got to let yourself feel it. Telling yourself, no, it's fine, I'm good, is not going to get you that far. Having a positive mindset doesn't mean that you lie to yourself and tell yourself that everything is roses when it's not. Having a positive mindset is saying, I can acknowledge when things are bad, but I'm going to make the most of it and do the best I can, and I'm going to honor what I need right now. That's a positive mindset. So when this stuff happens, it's really important to keep that mindset in check, to understand that, yes, it's great to set goals, that you want to build your business and finish your website and do all these things, and maybe you will, and that's great. But you want to buffer in more time than you think for those times where you do just need to sit and eat a pint of ice cream, or you do just need to call up your best friend and gab with them for an hour and a half and just let out some stuff, right? You gotta give yourself time for that, especially in these uncertain times, because uncertain is the key word there. You don't know how your body's going to feel or how your body's going to react when we've never been through this before. So be kind to yourself with that. I just want to catch up on some of the comments. Bobby, good. I'm glad that this is a good reminder for you. Yeah, rebranding lets you keep being refreshing. Exactly, Sam. Totally. Think about all the successful musicians rebranded like 50 million. Hey, Frederick, I'm aiming to do my first tutorial live session for fundraising this weekend. Awesome. If everything works out with software, yep. Appreciate the insight. It's my pleasure. Frederick, best of luck with that. And it might be messy, right? Like I was here before I jumped on live. I had a test page. I do Facebook Lives all the time, but something always goes wrong with tech. So I just set aside an extra 10 minutes before I came on here to test things out because like Facebook changed. It's been a while since I've been on Facebook Live and it's like changed its setup. So I allowed myself to know like I might do this and things might go wrong, right? It's okay. Let's see. Chris says, I gave myself the day off today. Fantastic. I'm learning the 8 hours a day thing isn't good for me. Exactly. And the beautiful thing about working from home is that you can do 2 hours, take a break, 2 hours, take a break. It doesn't always have to be 8 hours. You know, one of the things I always tell people, if you've ever watched The Office, Kathy Bates comes in as the new manager and Michael wants to leave early and she says, are you proud of the work you've done today? And it's meant as a joke because obviously Michael Scott did not do any work that day. But I loved that she said that because, you know, we're set up in a society that's like work 8 hours, work 8 hours. Work takes as long as it's going to take. And if you've done 2 hours of work and you've completed what you set out to do and it only took you 2 hours, great. Now you can either move on to something else if you have the energy for it or take the day off. Great. You've done what you set out to do. Like there's not this structure, especially in creativity and especially in creating art and being an entrepreneur in general. There's no like 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours. Sometimes, like the other day, I had 12 hours, almost 13 or 14 hours that I worked. I didn't work those straight, but I took a nap. I took a break. I didn't get like my usual night of sleep. I like kind of slept in chunks and I did what I had to do. And then other days, like I worked 2 hours and I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good where I'm at. All my clients are taken care of. I'm good. I'm taking a break. I'm watching Netflix. So give yourself that. Absolutely. Brutally honest is most helpful kind of honesty. Exactly. 100%. So now what I want to move towards is what to do. Right now I'm going to get to the purpose of my topic is what do we do then when our plan goes into the crapper. So, you know, now that I've focused on mindset, because like I said, that's the really important piece. Here are the 3 things that I want you to keep in mind when you need to regroup, right? And that's actually the first step is to regroup. So here's my 3-step system for into the crapper. The first is regroup. Hit pause, take a break, and acknowledge the change. Because the issue is, and I said this earlier, when you don't acknowledge that something's changed, when you just kind of like to pretend like everything stays the same because you think that will keep you calm, it's not going to. Because that little voice inside, that anxiety that's going on, the more you push it away, the more you say, no, everything's fine. I'm good. When people say like, hey, how you doing? How you making through? And you're like, I'm good. No, if you're not good, don't say you're good. Find a trusted friend, find somebody you can talk to and say, I'm not good. Or my plan didn't work out and it really sucks. You know, like, yes, we make jokes about those first world problems. And yes, there are really horrific, horrible tragedies going on. And if that's not you, can't feel bad. Now, I'm not saying you go on and tell everybody on social media, hey guys, poor me, my show got canceled, and I want you to feel sorry for me. No, that's probably not going to land right. But you can acknowledge it to yourself and to a trusted friend and say, I'm really down about this. I was really looking forward to that show, or that show was going to bring me a lot of money, or I worked so hard on this new single that I was releasing, and now I have to postpone it, or I released it and I didn't get the results I wanted, or, you know, whatever plan didn't work out. It's okay to acknowledge it. You don't have to say, oh, this is first world problems. What am I complaining about? Don't dismiss it. Like I said, you don't have to share it with everybody. You don't need to have like a public pity party about it, but you can acknowledge it. The next thing is reflect. So this is where you assess what's changed, what's been affected. So first is just acknowledging the change, but now it's like, okay, let me audit this. Let me do a deep dive and see what has not worked out. What do I need to change? What things do I need to tweak? So are your goals still the same right now? If your goals are still the same, great. If your goals have changed, maybe you thought you'd be a touring musician and now you're realizing, oh, I'm going to have to do most of my stuff online. Maybe some of those goals are going to change, right? So once you've decided whether or not your goals have changed or not, you've got to decide for yourself what tasks no longer serve my purpose. Because I'm sure you've got all those tasks that you've written down or you've got them in your head. Best to get them out on paper when you can. And think to yourself, what things did I have coming down the pipeline that I should just get rid of because they don't serve me anymore? Don't just do them for the sake of doing them. It doesn't mean you failed because you erase something or delete something off your plate. It just means it's not serving you anymore. Don't waste your time on things that you know don't serve your new purpose. Exactly. Disappointments, regardless. Brittany says touring, that was going to be my year this year. My plans upside down. I'm so sorry to hear that, Brittany. And, that's the bad news, right? And the good news is that there are ways around that. There are ways to still perform. There are ways to still build your audience and impact them, right? Because, let's think about this for a second. The goal, right, might have been touring. But as we said before, and as you, in fact, mentioned, right, bigger picture. The bigger picture, your why, right, is, I'm just spitballing here, but it's likely to be impactful to a particular audience. So you've got to decide what specifically your why is, but you can still be impactful. It's just going to be in a different way. And it might be better than you've ever imagined it could be, right? So that's the focusing on best case scenario, but planning for the worst. It's acknowledging that this isn't what you thought it was going to be, but it could be amazing. And that's how you want to attack something, but you want to plan for it taking longer than expected. Or it might be, planning for it to be harder than it might be, just so that you give yourself some buffer room, right? So after you regroup, you reflect on what has changed and what you need to tweak, and then you reassess. So then you determine what new to do. What new support do you need? What new skill sets do you need to learn? What new routine do you have to put in place? Okay? So revisit old tasks, realize what your current resources are, and then break it down. And I love doing mind dumps on paper. Take paper and pencil and write it down. You could type it out if it's faster for you, but the importance of putting pen or pencil to paper is because studies have shown time and time again, it kind of digests in your brain more vividly and strongly. People reach their goals faster and with more success when they write things down. Okay, people ask me all the time to make an app for my weekly planner. And I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Puns. Because it's not going to serve people. It's so crucial that you write things down. So mind dump all of the resources that you have. Mind dump what you're grateful for. Mind dump what you want to accomplish. And then once you see everything written down, you can start to pick apart things, break them down, and then take action. Okay? So the last thing that I want to share with you guys, let me just look at my notes, make sure that got everything here, is that yes, remember that choices are things that we still have. You still have choices, because the reason I bring that up is because when stuff like this happens, we feel out of control, right? Let me know in the comments if you guys at any point during this pandemic have felt out of control, have felt like your plans are out of your control, feel like the world and the news and the media are dictating what you can do. Let me know in the comments if you have felt like things are just out of your control and like you've lost some power in your life. I want you to take a moment after acknowledging that and remember that you have control and you have a choice permission to take a break, permission to push harder, permission to start over. And if you need a reminder that when things are out of control, if you need a reminder of all the things you do have control of, I made you guys a list. Here's a list of just some. This is just some of the things you guys have control. Your mindset, your decision to hit pause, your decision to ask for help, your ability to regroup, reflect, and reassess like we just went over, your decision to find another way, and your decision to change or adapt your mindset. Yeah, it's okay to type it. You can type it if you want. Even if your writing is messy, write it out first, and then you can type it so that it's like clear to you when you go back to it in your notes. But it really is an important exercise to get it out, because what happens is as you're writing, it's also creating muscle memory, not just visual memory. And if you think about it like this, when you type, all these keys feel the same, right? So like your brain, it's not like getting into your brain. Your brain is not going to know whether you're hitting an H or a G. But when you write an H or a G, it's seeing it and it's feeling it. You know what I mean? So that's why they say that your brain takes it in a much deeper way when you write it out. So I would suggest, if you've got time, write it out first, and then you can always type it, and that can be the notes that you go back to. The last thing that I wanted to leave you guys with is that you've got this, okay? Now is the time to listen to your body. Now is the time to regroup. And when you have those days where you're feeling good and you're ready to take action, adapt. Take that action. Engage with your audience. Ask them how they're doing. Be of service. Develop your craft as an online musicpreneur. Okay, we're all here for you. I'm here for you. If you have any questions related to mindset, goal setting, time management, anything like that, feel free to tag me and or leave a comment here in the replay if you're watching the replay, and I'll get back to you on it. And continue to tune into the Savvy Musician Show. Leah and her team, including myself, are all here for you. Schedule a call with her team and ask for help when you need it. Here or with a trusted friend or with a therapist or another professional. Whatever that help might be, ask for it. Whatever you need, speak up. Now is the time to be honest with how you're doing. Okay? Sam says, oh, that's true. Yep, it is. It is true. So thank you so much for allowing me to share this with you. I hope it was helpful. I appreciate you guys chiming in and sharing your thoughts with me in the comments. If you have additional questions, I can stick around and answer them if you have things that you want to share, or if there's anything you'd like me to go over more. Like I said, everything that was notable from my talk today, I've posted in the comments. So if you've missed them, you can just scroll back into the comments and see it there. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, Anna, you're quite welcome. You're welcome, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm here for you guys. We don't know what's going to happen, but it will all be okay. There will be a new normal. Could be a very better normal, right? So think positively, focus on best case scenario, plan for worst case scenario, and just keep adapting. Don't look at it as failing. It's all learning. You never make mistakes, you just learn lessons, okay? Thanks so much. Guys, take care of yourself. Stay safe. Stay inside. Stay healthy. All right? Bye. Oh, sorry. Brittany says, are you I'm just kidding. I'm not leaving. Brittany says, are you an active musician? If so, what is your plan? So I am not a musician. Nobody wants to hear me sing. I was in my college a cappella group, and we'll just leave it at that. But no, I'm not an active musician. My plan, luckily, is that I'm here. My expertise is to help people decrease their overwhelm. And so I'm just going to continue to do that. And that's my plan. But there were things that I had planned on launching and promoting. And there were about 5 or 6. I was supposed to speak at South by Southwest, and that got canceled. So a lot of my speaking engagements got canceled. But now I'm adapting with Facebook Lives. So, yeah, you guys can find me at Rockstar Advo on Instagram, and I'll be doing more lives about mindset if you guys need me. But I just want to thank Leah and her team for creating these amazing resources. I've also been a guest on her podcast, and so be sure to check for that one. And keep tuning in. We've got more amazing lives planned for you right here in this Facebook page. So be sure to keep marking your calendar and showing up and participating. Awesome. Bye, guys.